So, hello and welcome to this Adobe Animate CC 2019 tutorial. I would like to go and show you this software, what you can do with this software and how you can use it. So, Adobe Animate is basically an animation software which allow you to create HTML5 animation, some interactivity and so on. Previously it was Flash, but Flash is dead. And now this is Adobe Animate and it is for HTML5 things. So when you open Animate, you have a few options. This is since 2019 version, and you can choose whether you want to make some ads. For example, you have these sizes for AdWords, banners. But basically what is important is to choose HTML5 canvas, because there is some other options. There is ActionScript and some other for the Android and so on options, but we would like to work with HTML5 canvas. There is an option to set your width and height of your canvas, but we can change this very easily later on. Okay, so all you need to do is just hit create. Okay, so here we are. And this software is basically made of 4 parts. Okay, first part is this viewport. Here is all of your graphics and all of your animations. You can see it in there. Then we have tools. This is very similar to Photoshop or Illustrator or any other similar softwares. Then we have some properties which we are going to be changing in here. And at the bottom we have a timeline. Of course, you can create some changes. You can go to Window, to Workspaces and choose some other workspace, but I will keep this in these essentials, okay? Alright, so first thing is that I would like to set my background. In Illustrator, if you want to create background, you usually create a shape and that is your background. In the Animate, we have built-in option, and it is this stage. So I will click, and here I have some swatches and I can choose my color, or I can in the right top corner go to this icon, and now I can pick specific color that I want. And you can use this hue, saturation, brightness or RGB mode, and I prefer this one, hue, saturation, brightness, and I will set it to very slight blue. It's like I do not want to have it white. Okay, so the next thing is that if you want to change your width and height, here is the option. I said that you can very easily change it, so I will change it to 500 by 500, for example. Okay, now before we want to create any kind of shape or anything, I just want to show you how you can move around. So if you want to move around, you need to hold space, and then with your mouse you can go like this. If you go away, somehow like this, and you do not know where is your stage, there is this very useful icon in here, and it is center stage. So if you click on this icon, you will get to the center. If you want to zoom in and out, all you need to do is hold Ctrl and use your mouse wheel, and you will zoom in and out. Okay. Next thing that we have is this frame per second, and by default it is set to 24, but you can change it to any frame per second that you want. One thing that may be cool about this 24 is that it is very easily divided, and you can make some loop animations. So if you have 24 frames long some animation, and you have other animation which is 12 frames long, and other which is 6, and other which is 3, you can make beautiful loops with your animations, with your banners. But you can set this frame per second as you want. Okay, so first thing that we are going to be doing is the shape. So I will go to my rectangle tool, and when I click on my rectangle, I have 2 options. I have option to choose my fill, and I have option to choose my stroke. And the same as with the background, if I click on my fill, I can choose my color from the swatches, or I can choose some specific color. Okay, for example, this kind of red. And for now, I will skip the stroke and I will just draw some rectangle. One thing that I want you to notice is at the bottom we have layer 1, which is so far empty, and there is this empty dot in here. As soon as I draw something, this dot will be black, so you can see, okay? Or it is already black. If I hold shift, I will draw this proportionally. If I do not hold shift, I will create any shape as I want, okay? Now, if I go to my selection tool, I can move this around. If I go to my free transform tool, which is this, and shortcut is Q, I can scale this. I am holding shift, so I'm scaling this proportionally. I can rotate it with shift by 90 degrees. I can scale it like this. And now I'm not holding anything. If I do not hold anything, it will scale on the left and on the right side the same amount. And if I hold Alt on the Windows, I'm not sure on the Mac, I will scratch it like this. Okay, cool. Now I will delete this one and I will create one more, but right now I will also go to my stroke. So just click on the stroke, choose any color that you want. I will go with maybe black. Here I can adjust how many pixels my stroke is going to have, how wide it's going to be. I can choose, for example, 5, okay, and I can draw it, okay, like this. Okay, so one thing right now which may be a little bit confusing, but it is also useful, is that if right now I go to my selection tool and I click on my shape, I will only highlight my fill. And if I try to move this, I am moving only my fill, okay? If I want to select everything, I need to double click on this shape, okay? So if I click once, I will select only fill. If I double click, I will select everything. With the strokes, it is even more confusing or more funny, because if I click on the stroke, I will select only one part of the stroke and I will move only one part of the stroke. I'm going Ctrl Z back. And if I double click, I will select all of the stroke, okay? So this is working like this. So what can we do? If we want to, or you have one more option to select everything, and it's like this, okay? But this is not the best way, because you can easily select something that you didn't want to select. All right. So what can we do about this? Basically, we can group this together, and then you can just click once and it will behave like one shape, okay? So how can we group this together? First of all, you need to highlight everything, so just double click, then go to modify, and at the bottom you have this option to group it. Shortcut is Ctrl G, so you can use this shortcut. It's similar to, it's the same as in the Illustrator, for example. Okay, so right now this is grouped, and we can move it as one shape. But we have lost our options to change the color or change the stroke or anything like that. And if we want to go to these options again, all we need to do is double click on this shape, and now we are in the scene and in the group. If I click back on the scene, I am where I was, and if I double click, notice in here, I have scene, and now I have scene and group. So I am inside of the group. And in this group, I can right now go and change the color of my shape, or I can change the stroke. I double clicked on the stroke and I can change it to the blue color. And now I want to go back to my scene. And there are two options to go back to the scene. Either you can double click somewhere else, or you can click on the scene. Okay, I will just double click somewhere and I am back in my scene. Okay, cool, hopefully you understand this. So now I will scale this down. I will use shortcut Q, which is this free transform tool, and I will hold shift and I will scale it like this. Okay, and I will just show you that this oval tool is very similar. So I will go to my oval tool, I will choose some fill, I will choose some background, and I can draw this right now, and you can see that I have an oval with a stroke. Okay, I really do not like this color, so I would like to change the stroke, and you can remember that if we want to select stroke, we need to double click on the stroke, okay? But when we have this ellipse tool, or this, how it is called, oval tool, we need only all we need is to click only once on the stroke, and it will select all of the stroke. But if we have a rectangle and we click only once, this is group, but if we click only once, we will select only one part. And the reason is that in this ellipse, the stroke is continually going, but in this rectangle, it is divided, okay? It is divided by these corners. So sometimes, I just want you to be aware of, you can think that you have selected all of the stroke, but you didn't. So it's always best idea to double click to make sure that you selected all of the stroke. So hopefully you get it, and we can move on. So we have grouped this together, and now I can group this one together. So I will select it like this. I am careful to not select this one, and I will use my shortcut Ctrl G, and now I have grouped this together. So now if I go to this group and I will double click, I do not have an option to change my ellipse, and I can go back. I will click just to the scene, and if I go to my oval tool, now I do not have option to manipulate with this one, but I can change, for example, this stroke, and I will change my color to maybe black, like this. Okay, and even what I can do, I can highlight both of them, and I can hit Ctrl G, which means that I have grouped them together, and now I can move them together. I can hit Q, which is free transform tool, and I can, for example, scale them together. And now if I want to go and change something about them, for example, color, I need to double click to get to the first group, and in this first group, they are just grouped separately together. And if I want to go inside this group, I need to again double click, and I am inside my rectangle, okay? And now if I want to go back, if I double click, it will get me only one group back, okay? Imagine that you can have 6-7 groups in here, and if I double click somewhere, I only got one group back, and if I double click again, I got another group back, okay? But if I click on my scene, on any of my groups, I will get to them. If I click on this group, I am in that group. If I click on my scene, I am inside the scene. Okay? So hopefully you understand this one, and we can move and we can move on again. Okay? So now I will show you how you can ungroup your artwork. So just go to the modify and hit ungroup. This option is available only when you have grouped something, and the shortcut is Ctrl-Shift-G, which is same as in the Illustrator. So I will ungroup this. So now I have my rectangle and my oval separately, and I can move on. So next thing that I would like to show you is a pen tool. And if I go in here, here is a pen, and in the pen you do not have an option to choose your fill, because you are just creating your stroke. But you can change the color of the stroke. For example, I want to have a blue stroke, and I can start to draw, okay? If you just click and you don't drag, you will just get these points, and you have it like this. If you want to finish, and you will came in here, you can see a little circle next to my pen, and just click and finish your shape, okay? But now, if I want to create a fill, how can I create a fill? Okay, I will go to my selection tool, and I can start to click on my stroke, but I do not have an option to make my fill. So what I need to do, or what you need to do, is to go to this one tool. It is called Paint Bucket tool, and now you can choose your color. I will go with I don't know, yellow, and just click anywhere inside of your shape, okay? And there you have it. And if you right now, for example, do not want the stroke, all you need to do is double click on the stroke, and you can get rid of the stroke like this, okay? Which brings us to one more weird, funny thing, and it is if I get rid of the stroke, and it doesn't matter whether it is shape created by pen or whether it is a rectangle like this, if I create a shape which doesn't have a stroke, or if I delete a stroke, I do not have an option to go and create a stroke. So what I need to do if I have a shape and I do not have a stroke is either to recreate the shape, which is not the best idea, or go to this tool, which is right below my paint bucket tool, and you can see a little stroke in here. And if I click on this tool, I have an option at the bottom to choose a color of my stroke. So for example, I can go with red, and now all I need to do is click on the edge of my shape, so like this, and I will have a stroke. And I can click on my rectangle and I will have a stroke. And again, I can work with that, okay? So now what I can do is select everything and just hit delete. Okay. Okay, so one more time very quickly, I will create a shape. This shape is going to have a fill and a stroke. I will draw it like this. If I click, I select only fill. If I double click, I will select everything. If I click on the stroke, I select only one part of the stroke. If I double click on the stroke, I have selected all of the stroke. If I get rid of the stroke, I can use this tool to get my stroke back, like this. If I create a shape with a pen tool, like this, and I will go to my paint bucket tool, I can choose my fill, and I can click in here, and I can work with that, okay? So, just a little reminder, and we can continue with the pen. Alright, so back to the pen. So, as I said, if you just create something like this, you will have a straight line, but if you click and hold, you will have a curved line, okay? Like this. And if you click and hold shift, you will be horizontally and vertically perfectly aligned. Okay? So this is how you can use pen. Okay? And again, if you want to fill your artwork, all you need to do is go to this paint bucket and click in here, change the color, click in here, change the color, click in here, and if I do not want the strokes, I will double click on them and I will get rid of them like this, okay? So, funny shapes, I will get rid of them and we will be continuing. Okay. So the next thing, before we start to work with layers and animation and timeline, is text. Text is very simple and it's almost the same as in Illustrator, Photoshop or any other software, even same as in the Microsoft Word. So just hit on the text and first you have an option to choose static text or dynamic text. And this is dynamic text is for JavaScript if you want to later on manipulate the text. But if you are going to be doing only animations, you just use static text. Then we have a font, style of the font, font size, color, and some aligning to the left, to the middle, to the right. We have letter spacing, we have line spacing, and some other margins and so on. So I will change the color to the black and I will just type thank you for watching. Okay, and I will make it like this. Okay, alright. So now you can change your font size, you can change your color, you can change your letter spacing, you can change your line spacing like this. You can align it to the left, to the middle, to the right, and I will align it to the middle, okay? So one thing that you should be aware of is that if you use this free transform tool and you will scale this down, it is not going to be scaling down your pixels. So you can get really confused, because now I will scale it down, but it is still 57 points or pixels, okay? So just be aware of this one, okay? And now, I didn't show you so far, I have aligned my text to the center, but I have aligned it to the center to another text. But if I want to align anything perfectly to the center of my stage, I need to go to one of these tools, this align. Just go here and you can align it to the left, to the middle, or to the right, or to the top, middle, bottom. So this is where you can align your artwork. Alright, so the next thing that I would like to talk about is layers. And layers are very important, and right now I will show you. So you can see that we have only one layer, it is layer 1, and it is empty so far. So I will go ahead and draw some rectangle. Okay, cool. And now, if I draw another rectangle or ellipse, and I am still inside of this layer, guess what is going to happen? Something that you are probably not going to expect, but now I will draw an ellipse like this, okay, and everything looks fine. But if I now move this ellipse, it has cut my rectangle, okay? So one solution for this might be, if you are still in one layer, that you will create your shape like this, then you will group your shape. You will group your shape, then you will create another shape, and it is not going to cut, but it is going to be below, so it is still not the best way, okay? But at least they are not cutting each other, and I can group this one, and if I group this one, it is on the top of the blue, okay? But if you want to have everything in a good way, it's good to have separate layers for separate artwork. And we, as I said, are going to be importing illustrations from Illustrator, and we will have each illustration in a separate layer, okay? So if I want to, right now, create a separate layer, I will just hit this new layer, and now I have two layers. I have layer 1 and I have layer 2. And I can see that layer 2 is empty right now because there is an empty dot inside of that, okay? So I will delete this one because it is grouped, or I could just ungroup that, but I'm on the layer 1 and I will draw some shape, and then I go to ellipse tool, and if I stay on layer 1 and I will draw, it will cut, but if I go to layer 2 and I will draw something, everything is alright, because this is on layer 2 and this is on layer 1, okay? And now you can see that layer 2 has also this black dot because there is something in there, okay? And you can create as much layers as you want. If you create a layer, it is empty, and then you can draw something in there. If you want to rename your layer, just double click and you can change the name, okay? Cool. Okay, so if you want to delete your layer, just click on the layer and hit this delete, okay? And one more time. But one thing is that if you are on the layer and I hit delete on my keyboard, I will just delete an artwork which is on the layer, but I will not delete the layer, okay? Watch. I hit delete, I deleted the artwork, but I didn't delete the layer. There is no way how I can delete the layers without clicking to delete, okay? So it works like this. One more thing is that if I create a shape like this, and I will create one more shape, and I am not going to intersect them, I will create one more shape, and then I will create one more shape, And I know that we are just playing right now with the shapes, but later on we will be using normal graphics. Okay, so we have one shape, second shape, and last shape, and I can highlight all of them. I can right click and I can hit this distribute to layers. Okay, so I will hit distribute to layers, and it made every artwork to the separate layer, and it left one layer which is empty. And right now I'm not really sure, but I guess that it was like all of these artworks were in one layer, in this layer, layer 1, and when we hit distribute to layers, it distributed to the new layers, and it left the layer 1 empty. Okay, so now I'm actually sure that this is what happened. Okay, so I can delete my layer 1, and if I want I can rename this, but I'm not going to do that. Alright, so I think that we are ready to start to work with some animations. So right now what I want you to do is you to go and save your artwork, because so far we didn't save anything because we were playing with basic shapes and it wasn't important, but right now we want to save. So just hit Ctrl S, then inside of your computer go anywhere where you want and save it. I have a folder in here, it is Introduction to Animate number 1, and I will call this just intro and I will save it. Okay, so right now what we did, we only saved the animate project. So if I open my folder, you can see that I have this intro.fla, which is Flash, but right now it is animate. Okay, and now what do I want to do is I want to export my HTML and JavaScript, and I need to set up my export location. So I can either go and create a folder right in here, or I can go to File, Publish Settings. There are a lot of settings in here which we will cover later on, but for now just click on this icon, output name, okay, in the basics, then go to the place where you saved your Flash file. So in my case it is in here. I will create a folder. For now I will call this folder exported. I will go inside, and you can either keep this name intro.js, or I usually call this one index. Okay, and I will hit save. Okay, so right now if I go to my folder, you can see that I have my Flash file and I have my exported folder. But if I open my folder, it is empty. There is nothing in there. So far we only set a publish setting. Okay, in here we set publish setting, but we didn't publish. So if we want to publish, you go to File and hit this publish. Okay, and now when you published, you can go to your folder and you will see that inside of this exported folder you can see index.html and some JavaScript. Okay, so and then you can open this index. We will do this later on because so far we didn't do anything. But if I open it, it will just open empty browser, but later on it will open our animations or anything like that. Alright, so now we are ready to create our first animation. So basically I will just change my stage, and I will again choose some very slightly blue color, so I do not have a white background. And then I will go and create some rectangle. I will change the color. The color is going to be green, for example, and I will draw some rectangle like this. Okay. I want to align my rectangle to the middle, so I will align it like this, and now it is in the middle. Okay, cool. You can see that we have layer 1, here is a black dot, which means there is something, and now I want to convert this to the symbol. And converting to the symbol means that if I convert something to symbol, I am able to animate it. Okay, so every time you are going to animate something, and it doesn't matter whether it is illustration, whether it is photo or anything like that, whether it is text, you always have to go and create a symbol. Okay, so there are two ways. One way is go to modify and convert to symbol, or use the shortcut F8. Okay, so we will hit this convert to symbol, and now we have an option to rename our symbol, which I will so far keep this symbol 1, don't bother with naming right now. And then we have type of symbol, and we have basically 3 types of symbol. We have movie clip, we have button, and we have graphic. And most of the time we are going to be using this movie clip, okay? And sometimes we will use button, but button is only for buttons, and the graphic, I never use it, okay? So just keep this movie clip and hit OK. Cool. Right now you can see, if you click on your shape, that again, the same as with the grouping, we lost our option to change the color or to change the stroke or anything like that. And we have some new options, okay? So right now, if you want to go and change your color, you need to, again, double click, and you are in the scene and in the symbol 1. And if you put specific name to your symbol, you would have your name in here, okay? So I will go back, and when we have a symbol, we have few options that we can do with this symbol, okay? First thing, this instance name, it is not important for us right now, but I will show you what it is, okay? This instance name is useful for JavaScript when you want to create some interactivity. This is like classes or IDs in HTML, but don't bother with this right now. Then we have this type, it is movie clip. Then we can position this somewhere, but I want to center it to the stage. And then we have some cool options. So for example, in this color effects, I can open it, and I have, for example, alpha, which is opacity, transparency, and I can animate this. I have maybe some brightness and so on, okay? I want to put this to 0 and okay. So right now, I have only one keyframe in here, and I would like to create another keyframe somewhere on my timeline, okay? So, for example, I can go to frame 40 in here. I will right click, and I have an option to insert keyframe, okay? You have more options, and this may be a little bit confusing, but I will try to cover and explain the differences. You have insert frame, insert keyframe, or insert black keyframe, okay? But we are going to be inserting keyframe. So hit insert keyframe. The shortcut is F6, and this is very important shortcut. But right now we have our first keyframe in here and our second keyframe on the frame 40, okay? And what do I want to do? At the first keyframe, I want my artwork to be at the bottom, and then I want it to animate to the top, okay? So I will hold Shift, and I am on the frame 1, and I will drag this to the bottom, like this, out of my stage, okay? And one thing that I want to mention is everything that is going to be outside of your stage is not going to be visible in the browser, okay? When we animate this in, it will look like it is coming from the bottom, from the nowhere, but if I would keep it like this, without animation, this wouldn't be displayed on my browser, okay? So right now, we have our animation, but there is no smooth animation, because we have first keyframe at the bottom, and then all of the other frames are going to be at the bottom, and then when we hit this last keyframe, it will get to the top, okay? And we do not want this. We want to have some smooth animation happening between these two keyframes. So what can we do is we can go anywhere between these two keyframes, then just right click and choose this create classic tween, okay? There is option to create motion tween, which is very similar, but classic tweens are much more simple, and we are going to be using these classic tweens. So create classic tween, and now we have our animation from the bottom to the top. Okay, cool. Now I can show you, we can go to our folder where you exported your HTML and JavaScript, and I can open it. Okay, and I opened it and nothing happened. Okay, and the reason why nothing happened and I didn't realize it is I didn't publish it. Okay, so we already set our publish settings, we published that before, but we didn't publish it right now. So I will hit publish. I had published my animation, and now if I open my index, you will see that we have this animation. Okay, but this animation by default is going to be looping forever. Okay, it will just go there and it will loop and loop and loop. Cool. If you are going to be watching your animations, you do not need to always go to your index and open your index. You have built-in option in the Animate to preview your animation in the browser. So again, two ways. One is to go to Control and hit Test, which will open a browser and make your animation. And I never use this one because I use shortcut, and the shortcut is Control Enter. Okay, cool. So first thing that I really do not like is that my shape will just animate and then it will loop again and again. I would like to have my shape in there for few more seconds. So what can I do? I can go to frame, for example, 120 in here, and either I can right click and choose insert keyframe, or I can use my shortcut, very important shortcut, and it is F6. So I will hit F6. I have a new keyframe, and right now we have animation from first keyframe to the keyframe on the frame 40, and then we have just frames in here, and these frames are not going to move. So if right now I hit my test with Control Enter, I will have animation, it will stay in there, and then it will loop. Okay, cool. Okay, right now I would like to create a new layer, and I would like to create a text on this layer, okay, and animate my text. So I will hit this new layer, and you can see that by default my layer 2 is same length, 120 frames, as the first layer. Okay, you can see that it is expanded up to here. Okay, cool. And I can even rename my layers. So this is going to be just shape, and this one is going to be text 1. Okay, and now I will go to my text. I will change the color to black, for example, and I am going to create my text. One thing is that I would like to create my text in the middle of my shape. But my shape at the first frame is at the bottom, and then it will animate in here and it will stay in the same place. So basically, right now when I'm on my text 1 layer, it doesn't matter whether I am on frame 10 or I am on frame 80. If I start to create my text, I will get my keyframe on the first frame. Okay, so hopefully you understand, and I will type again hello and welcome. Okay, I will make this a little bit smaller, and I will align it to the middle. Okay, cool. So remember, as I said, every time that we want to animate something, we need to create a symbol. Okay, so I will click on my text, I will go to modify, and I will hit convert to symbol, or you can use the shortcut F8. Okay, so we have two important shortcuts. One is F6 to create new layer, to create new keyframe, and F8 to create a symbol. So convert to symbol. I can name this one. This is going to be text 1. I will keep this to be a movie clip, and I will hit OK. Cool. So right now you can see that we have our text, which is all the time from frame 1 to frame 120 on the same place, and then we have our shape. Okay. So what do I want? I do not want my hello and welcome to start from the beginning. Okay. So what I can do is I can click on my keyframe and I can just move it somewhere. For example, I can move it in here. And now my first few keyframes or first few frames are empty, and then my text will appear. Okay? Cool. And what do I want? I would like to go maybe to frame 70, and I want to create a new keyframe. So right now I will use my shortcut and I will just hit F6. Okay? And now I have one keyframe on frame 30 and one frame on frame 70. Okay? And in this keyframe, I want my text to be at the left. So I will hold my shift and move it to the left. And again, what we have right now is all of my frames are going to be at the left. Hopefully you can see it. And then when we hit frame 70, it will move to the middle. And if we want to create smooth animation between these two, I need to click anywhere between. I can even highlight more frames, it doesn't matter, and I can choose create classic tween. Okay? And now we have animation of the shape going up, and then we have animation of the text going like this. Okay, cool. And then we have few empty frames, and then it will loop again and again and again. So I will just save this, and I will hit Ctrl Enter, which will test my animation, and you can see that we have our animation which is looping. Okay, cool. Alright, so right now I'm thinking whether I will show you easings firstly, or I will show you how you can stop your animation. And I will choose to show you firstly how you can stop your animation. Okay, there are two ways. One, which is not going to work, but I am going to show you anyway. And the second, which is going to work. Okay, so first thing is that if you are going to look around the software, you may think that in File, in Publish Setting, you have this option to loop timeline. Okay, and if I uncheck this because it is checked by default and I will hit OK, you may think that okay, this is going to be solution for looping the timeline. But right now, I saved, and if I hit Ctrl Enter, I have my animation. Then my animation will disappear and it is not looping again. Okay, so what has happened? Basically, and I am not really sure why this is happening, I don't use this way, but at the beginning we have nothing in here, and then we have our animation. And when we choose in Publish Setting to do not loop timeline, strangely it will play our animation to the end, and it will end on the frame 1. Okay, so I can show you if I'm using shift and arrow. If I move my keyframe to here and I will start my animation like this, you will see that if I test right now, it will end at the first frame. Okay, so you can see that right now I have my animation, then it will stay in there, and you can see that it is on my first frame. Okay, so this is not really useful for us. So what we can do? Okay, we can write some JavaScript to stop our animation. Okay, and if you never wrote any code, don't worry, this is going to be the easiest code possible that you ever wrote. So what we need to do is to create new layer. Okay, right click on this layer. At the bottom we have this option actions. So if you click on these actions, it will open a text editor in which you can write your JavaScript. And all we are going to write right now is as simple as write this dot stop and parentheses, okay? And you can, or you do not need, put semicolon is optional in JavaScript. You do not need to put semicolon. So only this dot stop. Okay, so we are not going to be writing any more code right now. I'm sorry if some of you are worrying to write the code, but this is it. Only this dot stop, and then with these two arrows, I can get out of my code. Okay, cool. So right now you can see that my layer 3 has little a in here. Okay, hopefully you can see it. And it means that there is some action. And it is from the action script, but now Animate is built on JavaScript, okay? So what is going to happen right now if I publish? Something strange. You can see that I had published and I didn't even get my animation, okay? And why is that? It is because my action is on the first frame right now. And at the first frame, it is saying this stop. And I do not want my animation to stop on the first frame. So what I need to do is I need to get my action, just drag it and put it at the end, okay? Or you can put it wherever you want, but it will stop your animation where this action is located, okay? Cool. So now, if I hit Ctrl Enter and I will publish, you will see that we will have our animation and it will stop and it will not loop again. Okay? So this is the solution. Okay? And make sure that your action, I will rename it, it will be code. Make sure always that your code is on a separate layer and it is on the top of everything, okay? Later on, I will create tutorials about little JavaScript in Animate, but so far we are doing only this little code, okay? So, right now, if you, for any reason, want to go back to your action and change it, maybe you made some mistake or anything, all you need to do is right-click, hit Actions, and then you are back in your actions and you can do anything you want. And as soon as you are done, just click on these arrows and it will close your actions. Or you can use shortcut and it is F9, okay? And F9 will open your text editor. So we have right now 3 important shortcuts with F. It is F6, which will give you a keyframe, F8, which will convert your graphic to the symbol, and F9, which will open your text editor. And I use these shortcuts daily. Okay, cool. So I said that I want to show you how you can stop your animation, and then I am going to show you how you can use easings in your animations, okay? And what is easing? Easing basically means that by default our animations are linear, and it means that they are moving the same speed all the time. But usually, objects in the real world, they don't move linearly. For example, when you have a ball and you will drop a ball to the floor, it will be accelerating, okay, because of the gravitation. Or when you are going to drive a car, for example, you are driving only a few hundred meters, you will start from 0, then you will be accelerating, then you will get your constant speed, and then at the end you will be decreasing your speed, okay? So hopefully it makes sense. If not, you will get this later, okay? So I will click on my keyframe, on my first keyframe, on my shape, and then there is this option, classic ease, and next to my classic ease, I have this edit easings, okay? So I can click on my edit easings and I will have my graph in here. And you can see that this graph is linear, And don't worry, this is not like mathematics, this is not physics, this is very simple, okay? So don't worry. And right now, you can see that it is linear, and at the bottom, we have our timeline, our frames. So this is frame 1, frame 5, frame 20, and so on. And in here, we have how many percent of our animation has happened, okay? So for example, if I will close this for now, my animation starts in here, and it will go in here. So at the frame 20, it is located in the middle between these 2 points, okay? But if I go to my edit easings, I can click on my frames, I will get these handlers, and I can move them like this, for example, okay? And I will explain what these movements means, okay? So right now, I said that at the beginning, my animation is going to be very, very, very slow. Then it will speed up, and then at the end, it is going to be slow again, okay? And I will try to explain this little bit. So you can see that here on the frame 10, we do not even have 10% of animation happened. So we will move to this 10 frame, but this will move only very, very slightly in these 10 frames. And then from frame 15 to frame 25, it will go from maybe, I don't know, 16% to almost 80%. So from frame 15 to frame 25, almost all of our animation will happen. And then at the end, maybe last 10 frames, only last few pixels or centimeters will be moving, okay? So I'm not really sure if you understand it, but hopefully yes, and I will show you. I will hit save and apply, and I will hit Ctrl Enter, and you will see that it was slow. It was moving slowly at the beginning. Then I will refresh it, or I will go like this. For now, I will get rid of my code, okay, this code, and I will delete all of the layer, and we will do this later on. So I will just hit delete. So now our animation is going to be looping, and I want you to notice this, okay? So our animation started to go slowly, then it, come on, I'm sorry, I get rid of my code to stop my animation, but I still have in my publish setting to don't loop the timeline. So it ended on the first frame. So I will hit this loop timeline again, I will hit OK, and now my animation will be looping, okay? And you can see that animation of the shape is very different from the animation of the text. And I don't know as you think, but the animation of the shape looks just much better, okay? These easings, they make your animation to look really cool, okay? So now we are going to do the same thing for the text, okay? So we have 2 options, or maybe we have 3 options, or maybe we have many options. But if I go to my hello and welcome text, I can do the same thing. I can go to this edit easings, and I can make it like this, okay? Save and apply. I will hit Ctrl Enter, and now you can see that my shape and my text are both moving in the same way, okay? That they have easings at the beginning and they have easings at the end, okay? But maybe you would like to have the exact same easing animation for the shape and for the text. So what you can do is, once you create some ease that you like, for example this one, I can hit in here, hit this copy, then cancel, then go to your text animation, go to your custom, go to your easings, and now if I hit paste, it changed only a little bit because I was very close, but imagine that we had our animation like this, okay? And now I will hit this paste, and now I have the same easing for my text and for my shape. And I will just hit save and apply, okay? So you can see that these easings can be very useful, and Animate provide us by default with some pre-made easings, which is very cool for some people who do not like to spend time with the easings, okay? So if I go to any of these keyframe, I can go to my ease one in here, and there are some options. There is an option to have no ease, which means that this is going to be linear. Then we have this option ease in, which means that it is going to be going slowly at the beginning, but it will not go slowly at the end, okay? So then we have ease out, which means that it is going to be going fast at the beginning and it will slow down at the end. And we have some options to have this only slightly, then a little bit more, then even more, and then even more, and so on. Or we have this option easy in out, which will create easing at the beginning and easing at the end, okay? And you can see that this shape, this S shape, is very similar to what we made, okay? So again, you have some options which are almost linear like this, or you have this option which is really significant, okay? So you can play these ones. You have some kind of bounce, for example, and so on. But I will get to the animation and how you can animate perfectly later on, okay? We will be animating some balls and so on. But so for now, I just wanted to show you that there are some easings. These easings can be really useful, and by these easings, you can have beautiful animation. Okay, so right now I'm going to create another text, and what we are going to do is we are going to animate this hello and welcome to the right, and then we will have new text to appear in here, okay? So all I need to do is just hit new layer, and now I can get my text layer, and I need to make sure that I am on a layer 5, or I can rename this to text 2. I need to make sure that I am on the correct layer, text 2, and I can start to draw my text, okay? But one thing is that temporarily I want to hide my text 1, so I don't create text over another text. So I will just hide my text 1 and make sure that you are on text 2, and I can start to create another text. So I can type in here, thank you for watching, okay. And I will align it to the center like this, okay, and I can put it on the separate lines, boom, okay, and with my arrows and shift I will just move it a little bit like this, okay, cool. So right now you can see that this would be one over each other, so that's why I hide it. And what do I want right now? I have my I will hide my thank you for watching for now, and I will unhide my text 1, hello and welcome, and I had my hello and welcome to came in here like this, okay? Then I want some frames, for example up to here. I will hit F6 to be in the same place, and then I will go to maybe frame 160. I will hit F6 again, okay, and now I will get this one and I will move it to the right, okay. And there are a couple things that you may have noticed. One thing is that we have lost our shape, okay, because our shape has a timeline, but the timeline of our shape is from frame 1 to frame 120, and it is not continuing then, okay? So then we have only this hello and welcome, okay? So what we can do is we can expand the length or length of our shape in the timeline, okay? So basically all I need to do is grab this keyframe and move it. And I will move it to maybe frame 240. I can later on adjust it, but I know that I will have an animation where my old text is going away and where my new text is coming in. So approximately it will be 240, but we will change this later, okay? I just wanted to make some space, okay? And now my text 2, you can see that it has an animation in. Then I want this part to stay on the same place, and then I want it to move to the right, okay? And I already created the keyframe, but it is going to be the same, and at the last keyframe it will move to the right. So again we need to create some classic tweens. So anywhere between these, right click, create classic tween, okay? And we can use the same easing, or we can go to the keyframe, classic ease, we can choose easy in out, and we can go with this quart, for example, okay? And now we will have this animation. Okay, cool. So now I can hide my text 1, and I can unhide my text 2. And we right now do not see our text 2 because our text 2 has timeline up to 120, and now we are on the frame 150. So I need to go back, and here is my thank you for watching. Okay, I will click on my thank you for watching, and I can see that I didn't create a symbol for this one. Okay, so always remember, if you want to animate something, you need to create a symbol. Okay, so just hit F8 or go to modify, create a symbol. You can rename this to text2, for example, and hit OK. Cool. So right now, what we want to do is I want my animation or my text to start approximately somewhere here, or I can even go here, it doesn't matter. And now all of these frames are empty. From 1 to 125 is empty, and then it starts, and it is there only for one frame so far. So what can I do is I can go to maybe frame 170, and I can insert new keyframe. So either you can use F6 or just right click and insert keyframe. Okay, and what can we do? We can go to the first keyframe, and we can move this with shift to the left. Okay, then we can click in the middle somewhere, right click, and create classic tween. Okay, and again I want to have some easing, so I will hit create classic ease. I will go to easy in out, and I will again choose this quint, or I will go with quart. Okay, so now what we have is we have this animation. Thank you for watching, but there is this little problem. Okay, and the problem is that it will end on this frame 170, and it is not going to be continuing. Okay, so after this one frame, if I go one frame to the right, you will see that it has disappeared, and we have only shape. Okay, so our text 1 doesn't need to be longer, because if I hide my text 2 and I show my text 1, you can see that my text 1 should disappear at this point. Okay, so I do not need to expand this because it is already away, but my text 2 should remain visible. So what I need to do is I need to go to my frame 240 at the end, and I need to right click and insert keyframe. Or we can insert frame, or we can insert blank keyframe, but this is a topic for another video, okay? So far we are going to be inserting keyframe. So I will hit insert keyframe, and I will save, and I will hit Control Enter, okay? So I have my animation, hello and welcome will go away, and thank you for watching will come. Okay, cool. Right now, imagine that I like my animation, but you could see, or I will show you one more time, that between this hello and welcome and this new text, there was like too much time, okay? I want this to happen quicker. So what can I do is I can make this animation to be quicker, like this, okay? So just, you can move your keyframe like this or make it like this, it's up to you. So I want my animation to happen quicker, and I want also my animation to happen earlier. So I will click on one keyframe, I will click with shift on another keyframe. So this way I selected both keyframes and I can move them like this. Okay? And basically now I will show both of them. You can see that this one is coming and this one is leaving, and this is too much. So I will move it back a little bit like this maybe. And now you can see hello and welcome is moving, and thank you for watching is coming. Okay? So, and it doesn't matter that this length of the animation is not the same. Okay? It's up to you. The animation is kind of art, so it's up to you what you think that looks good and what you think that looks bad. Okay? So I will hit save, I will test it, and here we go. We have hello and welcome. It will go away, and then we have thank you for watching. Okay, cool. So if we want it, we can continue and create some more text or something like that. But I would like to slowly finish this video in here. And in the next, we are going to go in, again, in much more depth in the timeline. And I will tell you the difference between keyframe, empty frame, and so on. So at the end, what I wanted to do is to show you one more time how you can stop your animation, because maybe you didn't get it the first time. So I need to create new frame. I will call this one to be code. I will go to my first frame. I will right click. I will choose actions. I will write my code, this.stop, and like this. Okay. Now I will click on these two arrows, which will close this. It is on the frame 1, so I need to move it, and I need to move it to the frame 240. Okay. And be careful, because you can accidentally go to another frame like this. I can show you. Okay. So if you mess your timeline like this, what you need to do is go back, use Ctrl Z, and do it one more time, okay? So don't worry if you miss something, just go back and you should be able to do it again, okay? So I will hit save, publish one more time, and you can see that we have shape, we have hello and welcome will disappear, and new text will come. Thank you for watching. Okay, cool. So hopefully you like this video. If yes, just give me a like, subscribe, and I will be giving you more videos about this topic, about Animate, about Photoshop, Illustrator, and so on. So have an amazing day and see you later. Bye.